Hi, I'm Giorgia Prestento, and today I'm going to talk about resistance to change is not the enemy. It's the signal that you need to lead a successful change. If you're leading change and facing resistance from employees or even from your fellow leadership team, don't panic. That's not the problem, it's a signal. The question in your mind should not be how do I stop it? Instead, consider what you can learn from that resistance. There's a hard truth in change leadership. Every single transformation meets resistance, and it can come from all levels of the organization. But resistance doesn't mean people are being difficult. It means that they are processing an important message and a change in how they work, which may even impact their future as well as their present. As leaders, we are often told to push through. We have targets to achieve. For example, we have a go live with a new technology or a launch of a new operating model. Everything on very tight timescales. And what do we do when under pressure and experiencing resistance? We rationalize. We try to convince people with rational, logical arguments. But change isn't a spreadsheet, it's emotional. And the truth is that resistance is feedback, it's real-time data on what people need. You ignore it and it will fester. Instead, engage with it, and it becomes your most valuable insight. Let me take you back to one of my first projects. The goal sounded simple: transition a team of technical experts into customer-facing roles. But these weren't just any staff. They were former field engineers in Scotland. Practical, efficient, no nonsense. They were used to travel in a van and fix technical issues. Their new roles were going to be in an office and customer-facing. They were being asked to diffuse customer tensions, create a positive experience, and sometimes even chat with customers. For them, it wasn't a promotion, not even a tiny improvement. It was a shake-up of the work life that they experienced for the past 20 or more years. It was one of my first projects, and my change experience was very limited. I tried customer journey maps, focus groups, strategy posters. Nothing landed. Until one day we mapped the personal customer experience of one of the team members. It was a failed fridge delivery home. And that's when it clicked for them. They realized what the experience was like from the perspective of the customer. And it clicked with me as well. They were not resisting the new work. They were resisting feeling unprepared, uncomfortable, and misunderstood. And once we discovered the root cause of the resistance, we could move forward, and I could help them through the journey. This is what I learned from that project. Resistance is not about what is changing. It is about the questions it triggers in us. And we have reactions such as, I don't feel safe, I don't see myself in this new role, I don't trust how this situation will end. And as leaders, our job is not to shut down those voices, it is to decode them. Because behind every resistant behavior, there is a legitimate concern. It is fear of irrelevance, fear of losing control, and of course, fear of failure. So next time you are in a situation when you face or expect people to resist change, don't eliminate resistance. You engage with it, you decode it, and sometimes even be grateful for it. We often assume resistance comes from employees in the more junior roles. those farther away from the decision makers. After all, they don't set the strategy and they don't have any influence on the company's direction. And that explains why change managers spend most of their time coming up with communication for the more junior segments of the company. But change resistance has no regard for job titles, grades, or seniority. I learned this working with a senior manager who was going to lose 70% of his department in a reorganization. Believe me, he was not happy with the change. He took the news badly and kept flipping between anger and denial for a long time. The leadership team wanted him to stay, and realizing the difficulty of the situation, I made it my priority to get to the root cause of that senior manager reaction and solve the situation. Same as any person, he feared failure and losing control. And in this case, he was going to lose most of his department. And his worst fear was to lose his influence with the board members. The solution was to reframe his new role and get reassurance from the board, irrespective of department size, that his expertise were truly valuable to them. In fact, with a smaller department, you would have more time to spend on developing his expertise even further. This shows that nobody is immune from resistance to change. It happens to all of us as we go about our daily life. What's important for program leaders is to be aware of this as they set the new direction of travel. Most resistance is not solved with a clever plan. It is only solved with persistence. This means that you need to be consistent with presenting the purpose of the change. You have to be respectful towards what the change means for people. You also have to adapt to circumstances and present the change differently if the message doesn't land the first time. So persistence will address resistance over time. And it is not about force. It is about staying in the conversation long enough for trust to take root. So change is not a sprint. It's more like a dance. You take 2 steps forward, 1 back, 1 forward, and so on. But this rhythm only emerges if you show up again and again and continually transmitting your message to people. If you are a senior executive, here is what I want you to remember. Resistance doesn't just live in the questions at town halls or complaints that filter through the ranks. It lives in the silence. It lives in the Zoom calls where people keep quiet and the camera is off. It lives in the missed opportunities to connect. And it lives in the employees who said, sure, but they don't engage. This type of reaction will never make it to a dashboard, so you may not see them until it is too late. So always assume that people are resisting. This mindset will give you the opportunity to take action. To conclude, I ask you to reflect on this question. What is the most powerful shift that you can make in your change program? It is realizing the resistance isn't the enemy, it's a clue, it's a message, it's an opportunity to do better. So next time that you hear pushback, don't ask, how do I make it stop? Instead ask, what is it trying to tell me? Because when you stop trying to fight resistance, you start learning how to lead real change.